Mike Donovan was 34, a quiet, hardworking electrician in Pittsburgh. Married to Sarah for 8 years, father to 6-year-old daughter Lily. He coached Little League, paid his taxes on time, never missed a mortgage payment. Life was ordinary, safe. Until October 12, 2023. A home invasion in the upscale suburb of Shadyside. The victim? Wealthy widow Eleanor Hargrove, 68, bludgeoned to death in her own living room. Jewelry gone, safe cracked, blood everywhere. Police found a partial print on a broken vase, Mike's. He had worked on Hargrove's wiring 2 weeks earlier. Routine job, in and out in 4 hours. But the print matched. They found more. A tool bag with Mike's initials left at the scene. He swore it was stolen from his truck days before. A witness, an elderly neighbour, claimed to see a man in a dark jacket leaving the house around the time of death. Mike owned a dark jacket. No DNA, no video, no motive. But circumstantial evidence piled up fast. The DA, facing election pressure, pushed for murder 1. Jury deliberated 3 days. Guilty. Sentenced to life without parole. Mike's world ended in a courtroom. Sarah cried. Lily didn't understand. Mike stared straight ahead, numb. Prison hit like a freight train. Western penitentiary, cold cells, constant noise, violence in the shadows. Mike kept his head down, learned the rules fast. Don't stare, don't owe favours, don't snitch. Inside, he met people who believed him. An old lifer named Ray, ex-cop framed for corruption. Ray said, "The system's a machine. Once it chews you, it don't spit you out clean." Mike wrote letters, appeals. Sarah visited monthly at first, then every other month, then once every few months. Money dried up. She filed for divorce in year 2. Lily stopped asking about Daddy. Year 3, Sarah remarried, an accountant, stable, safe. Mike stopped writing home. But he didn't stop thinking. He started collecting pieces. In the library, he read law books, studied cases, found a pattern. Hargrove's nephew, Victor Hargrove, inherited everything. Victor was deep in debt, gambling, bad investments. The murder looked like a robbery gone wrong, but the safe was opened quietly. No forced entry except the back door, which Mike had repaired weeks earlier. Mike read out of town, but Mike remembered something from the job. Victor at the house, arguing with his aunt about money. Coincidence? Mike began digging from inside. He traded favours for phone access, got a burner smuggled in. He contacted a private investigator, ex-cop named Dana Ruiz, who believed in innocence projects. Dana took the case pro bono. She found Victor's gambling debts paid off days after the murder. A security camera across the street showing Victor's car near the house that night, not out of town. The neighbour witness? Paid off by Victor's lawyer. More. The tool bag wasn't stolen. Victor had access to Mike's truck during the wiring job. He planted it. Dana built a file, but appeals were denied. New evidence needed to be compelling. Courts didn't move fast. Mike waited 5 years. Then, in 2028, a miracle. A new DA, reform-minded, reopened old cases. Dana's file landed on her desk. Hearing granted. Mike walked out on a technicality, new evidence, reasonable doubt. Exonerated. Free. But freedom tasted like ash. Sarah had a new family. Lily, now 11, called another man Dad. Friends had moved on. Job gone. Reputation ruined. Mike lived in a cheap motel, collecting his small settlement from the state, $50,000. Barely enough. He stared at the ceiling every night, replaying the trial. The prosecutor's smug face. the judge's gavel, Victor Hargrove's victory smile in the gallery. Mike didn't want money. He wanted balance. He started planning. First, he needed proof, ironclad. He followed Victor, now living in a mansion outside Pittsburgh, running the family business. Victor was arrogant, careless. Mike watched from afar. Golf club, mistress, late-night meetings with shady partners. Mike built a dossier. Photos. Recordings from a cheap bug he planted in Victor's car. Risky, but he was careful. Then he learned Victor was planning to sell the house, the murder house, for millions. Mike saw his opening. He contacted Dana again. I want to expose him, publicly, but I want him to feel what I felt first. Dana warned him, "You're free now. Don't throw it away." Mike smiled thinly. I was never free. Not really. He began the slow burn. Step 1. Anonymous letters to Victor. I know what you did to your aunt, and to me. Victor laughed them off at first. Then paranoia set in. Mike escalated. Leaked a photo of Victor's car near the crime scene to a local crime blog. Comments exploded. Victor hired security. But Mike was patient. One night, Mike slipped into Victor's office. Old habits from electrician days, picking locks. He copied files, financial records showing the debt payoff, emails discussing handling Aunt Eleanor. He left a note on the desk. Your turn to sit in a cage. Victor panicked, called his lawyer, tried to bribe the blogger. Mike watched it all. He wasn't done. The real revenge was coming. Victor would lose everything. Money, freedom, reputation. Just like Mike had. But Mike would make sure Victor knew exactly who did it. And why. Michael Donovan stepped out of the Western Penitentiary gates on a grey November morning in 2028. The sky was low and heavy, like the weight he'd carried for 5 years. No fanfare, no family waiting. Just a plastic bag with his belongings, a worn wallet, a cheap watch, the clothes he'd worn at sentencing, now too big on his thinner frame, and $47 in cash from the commissary. A cab took him to a rundown motel on the outskirts of Pittsburgh. He paid for a week in advance. The room smelled of mildew and old cigarettes. He sat on the sagging bed, staring at the wall. Freedom felt like a foreign country, loud, bright, overwhelming. He didn't celebrate. He planned. First things first, survival basics. He used part of his $50,000 state compensation check, after taxes and fees, to buy a used pickup truck. Cash, no questions. A burner phone, a laptop from a pawn shop, basic clothes, a gym membership for showers and routine. He avoided old haunts, Sarah's new house in the suburbs, Lily's school. He couldn't face them yet. Maybe never. Instead, he focused on Victor Hargrove. Victor was 42 now, living in the renovated family estate in Fox Chapel, same house where Eleanor died, now worth $4.2 million after tasteful updates. He ran Hargrove Investments, a boutique firm specializing in real estate flips. On paper, successful. Behind the scenes, still gambling, still borrowing from shady lenders, still flashing wealth he didn't fully own. Mike watched for 2 weeks from a distance, parked across the street with binoculars, followed Victor to the country club, the steakhouse, the mistress's apartment in Lawrenceville. Victor drove a silver Mercedes GLE, always fast, always careless. Security was minimal. A basic alarm system, no live-in guards. Arrogance had made him sloppy. Mike started small. Psychological warfare. He mailed the first anonymous letter to Victor's home. Plain envelope, no return address. Inside, a single photo. Eleanor's crime scene, the one the newspapers never printed. Below it, typed, "I know what you did to your aunt, and what you did to me. The cage is waiting. Someone who spent 5 years in yours." Victor didn't report it. Instead, Mike saw him the next day, looking rattled, checking mirrors while driving, glancing over his shoulder at the club. Good. Second letter, 1 week later. Bank statements Mike had obtained through Dana's investigator contacts. Off-the-books favors. Highlighted. $1.2 million transfer from Eleanor's estate account to Victor's the day after the murder. Coincidence? The note read. Victor started drinking more. Mike watched him leave bars, unsteady, arguing with his mistress on the phone. Mike escalated. He created a burner email, shadowofjustice2028@gmail.com. Sent Victor a video clip, grainy footage Dana had pulled from a neighbour's old doorbell cam. Victor's car idling near the house at 11:47 p.m. the night of the murder. His alibi had been at a casino in West Virginia. The timestamp proved otherwise. The email subject, "Your alibi is lying." Victor hired a private investigator, amateur hour, ex-cop who drank too much. Mike spotted him tailing the Mercedes one afternoon and simply stopped following. Let them chase ghosts. Mike moved to phase 2, financial pressure. Using the laptop, he set up fake accounts on review sites, finance forums, local business groups. Posted subtle warnings. Thinking of investing with Hargrove Investments? Check their history. Sudden wealth after family tragedy. Buyer beware. Nothing libelous, just enough to plant seeds. A few potential clients pulled back. Victor's latest flip deal, a downtown condo conversion, hit delays. Victor lashed out. He fired his assistant, screamed at his broker. Mike listened to it all through a cheap GPS tracker and audio bug he'd planted under Victor's Mercedes during a late-night golf game. Risky, but the man parked in unlit lots. The bug picked up frantic calls. Victor to his lawyer. "Someone's blackmailing me. They know everything." Lawyer. "We'll handle it. Stay calm." Victor. "Calm? They're ruining me." Mike smiled in the dark of his motel room. Then came the personal hit. Mike knew Victor's weakness. His 19-year-old daughter from a previous marriage, Isabella. She attended Pitt, lived off campus, posted everything on Instagram, parties, vacations, new designer bags, courtesy of Dad. Mike didn't touch her. He never would. Instead, he sent her an anonymous package. A USB drive with redacted files showing Victor's gambling debts, the murder timeline, the planted evidence against Mike. A note. "Your father isn't who you think. Ask him about Aunt Eleanor. Ask him about the man he framed." Isabella confronted Victor. Mike watched from across the street as she stormed out of the house, tears streaming. She stopped posting for weeks. Victor cracked further. He started drinking alone in the house. Mike followed him one night to a dive bar in the Strip district. Victor sat at the end of the bar, nursing whiskey, muttering to himself. Mike sat 2 stools away, hood up, face shadowed. Victor didn't notice at first. Then Mike spoke, low, calm. 5 years, 3 months, 12 days. That's how long I sat in a cell for your crime. Victor's glass froze halfway to his lips. He turned slowly. Mike met his eyes. No smile, just cold certainty. "You remember me, Victor?" The electrician, the one whose life you ended. Victor's face went white. You're out? Exonerated. Free. And I know everything. Victor stammered. I don't know what you're... Mike slid a photo across the bar. Eleanor's will. The codicil that cut Victor out unless she died first. Mike had found it in the estate files Dana dug up. Sign a confession, Mike said quietly. Go to the DA, tell them the truth, or I release everything. Financials, footage, the bug recordings. Your daughter will see it all. Your business will collapse. And then the police will come anyway. Victor laughed shakily. You think I'll confess? I'll sue you for harassment. Mike leaned closer. I spent half a decade learning patience. I can wait. But you're already breaking. He stood, left $20 for his untouched beer, and walked out. Victor didn't follow. That night, Mike's burner phone rang, an unknown number. Victor's voice, slurred, desperate. What do you want? Money? I can pay. Mike. I want the truth. On record. Tomorrow. Meet me at the old Hargrove house, midnight. Alone. Victor hesitated. If I don't? Then the world knows before sunrise. Mike hung up. He spent the next day preparing, recorder hidden, backup drive, Dana on speed dial in case things went south. Midnight came. The Hargrove house loomed dark, lights off except one upstairs window. Victor's Mercedes sat in the driveway. Mike approached silently, gloves on, hood up. The back door, the one he'd repaired years ago, was unlocked. He stepped inside. Victor waited in the living room, same spot where Eleanor died. Bottle of scotch in hand, eyes red. You came, Victor said. Mike nodded. Confess. Now. I'm recording. Victor laughed bitterly. You think I'll just... Mike pulled out the recorder, pressed play. Victor stared at it, then at the spot on the floor where his aunt had bled out. He sank into a chair, and he talked. Everything. The argument over money, the rage, the hammer from the garage, the staging to look like a robbery, planting the tool bag, paying the witness, framing Mike because he was convenient, the poor guy who'd been in the house. Mike recorded every word. When Victor finished, he looked up. Now what? Mike turned off the recorder. Now you go to the police. Tonight. Or this goes to every news station, every prosecutor, every social media account. Victor nodded slowly, tears on his face. Mike left him there. He walked to his truck, drove away. By morning, Victor Hargrove turned himself in. Confession. Full details. The DA reopened the case immediately. Mike's exoneration had been one thing. This was vindication. But Mike wasn't done. Victor's confession would free Mike's name completely. But the system that let it happen? The DA who pushed the case? The judge who sentenced him? They were next. The hunt had just begun. Victor Hargrove's confession hit the news like a thunderclap. By morning, local stations were running the story non-stop. Millionaire confesses to aunt's murder, admits framing innocent man. Pittsburgh Post-Gazette front page. National outlets picked it up. CNN, Fox, even a segment on Good Morning America. Mike's name was cleared publicly. Exoneration complete. Compensation talks started immediately, now millions, not thousands. But Mike felt no relief. He watched the coverage from his motel room, face blank. Victor in handcuffs, head down, being led into the courthouse. The same courthouse where Mike had been sentenced. The system apologized. The old DA issued a statement. "We regret the error." The judge who'd presided over the trial retired quietly. No one went to prison for the miscarriage of justice. Mike's phone buzzed. Dana Ruiz. "You did it, Mike. Victor's looking at life. You're free, truly free." Mike stared at the screen. "Free? They took 5 years. My wife, my daughter, my name." Dana sighed. "I know, but you have to stop now. You got justice." Mike ended the call. He wasn't stopping. Phase 2. The system itself. First target, former prosecutor Amanda Klein. 42 now, promoted to senior assistant DA after Mike's conviction. She'd pushed the weak case hard, ignored inconsistencies, pressured the jury. Career boost built on Mike's life. Mike followed her routine. She lived in a nice townhouse in Mount Lebanon, jogged every morning, worked late. No family, married to the job. Mike started subtle. Anonymous emails to her office. "You convicted the wrong man. You knew the evidence was thin. How does it feel to know you destroyed an innocent life?" She ignored them at first. Then Mike leaked her old case notes, obtained through Dana's contacts, to a local investigative blog. Redacted, but enough to show she'd suppressed the neighbour's conflicting statement and downplayed Victor's financial motive. The blog post went viral in legal circles. Comments called for investigation. Amanda's boss called her in. She denied everything, but doubt lingered. She started looking over her shoulder during her jogs. Mike watched from a parked car. Next, the judge, Harold Grayson. Retired now, living in a golf community in Florida. He'd given Mike the max sentence, called him a danger to society, despite no prior record. Mike flew down, first time on a plane since prison. Used cash. Stayed in a cheap motel near the course. He waited until Grayson was alone on the 9th hole. Mike approached, casual, like a fellow golfer. "Judge Grayson?" The old man turned, squinting. Recognition hit. "You're Donovan?" Mike nodded. "The man you sentenced to life for a murder he didn't commit." Grayson paled. "I followed the law. The jury decided." Mike cut him off. "You ignored reasonable doubt. You let a killer walk free for 5 years." Grayson backed up. "I'm retired. What do you want?" "An apology. Public. And a donation to the Innocence Project. $100,000 in my daughter's name." Grayson laughed nervously. "You're blackmailing a judge." Mike pulled out his phone, recording. "Call it justice." Grayson refused. Mike walked away. That night, he mailed Grayson's golf club a package. Copies of the suppressed evidence, Victor's confession, and a note. The truth has a long memory. The next week, Grayson suffered a health scare. Retired fully. Quietly donated $100,000 to innocence causes. No public apology. Close enough. Back in Pittsburgh, Mike felt the noose tightening on himself. Victor, from prison, started talking. Told authorities about threats from a man who looked like Donovan. Police visited Mike's motel. "Detective, we need to know your whereabouts the night Victor confessed." Mike. "Home, alone, watching TV." They had no proof, but they watched him now. Mike went underground, moved to a new apartment under a fake name, paid cash, switched trucks, stayed off-grid. He expanded. The neighbour witness who'd lied, now 78, living in a nursing home, Mike visited as a relative. The old man cried when Mike showed him Victor's confession. "I was scared," the man whispered. They paid me. Mike didn't hurt him. He just recorded the apology, sent it anonymously to the media. The story evolved. Witness recants in Hargrove murder. Public outrage grew. Calls for systemic reform. Mike's final target, the jury foreman, a man named Paul Ritter. He'd pushed for guilty verdict, later bragged in interviews about protecting the community. Mike found him at a barber shop, sat next to him in the chair. "Remember me, Paul?" Ritter froze mid-shave. Mike leaned in. "You sent an innocent man to prison. How's that feel?" Ritter stammered. "I did what the evidence—" Mike slid a photo across. Ritter's grandson, 16, in a high school photo. "I know where he goes to school. I know his schedule. I'm not going to touch him, but imagine if someone framed him. Imagine if people like you sent him away." Ritter went white. Mike stood. "Think about it." He left. 2 days later, Ritter called a press conference. Tearful. "I was wrong. The evidence was manipulated. I failed justice." The system cracked a little more. Mike sat in his new apartment, staring at a photo of Lily, taken from Sarah's old Facebook. He hadn't seen her in years. He picked up the phone, dialed Sarah's number. She answered on the third ring. "Mike?" "Yeah." Silence. Then, "Lily asks about you sometimes." Mike's voice cracked. "Can I see her?" Sarah hesitated. "She's scared, but maybe." Slowly. Mike exhaled. He looked out the window at the Pittsburgh skyline. The hunt wasn't over. But perhaps, just perhaps, the cage was finally opening. Mike Donovan watched the fallout from Victor's confession like a man observing a fire he'd started. The media storm lasted weeks. Victor pleaded guilty. No trial, straight to sentencing. Life without parole. The judge called it one of the most egregious miscarriages of justice in recent memory. Mike's name trended. Wrongfully convicted electrician exonerated after 5 years. Reporters called. Talk shows invited him. He declined everything. He wasn't ready for the spotlight. Instead, he focused on the remnants. The old prosecutor, Amanda Klein, resigned quietly. Her office launched an internal review. She moved to private practice, defending corporations now. Mike sent her one final anonymous email. "You built your career on my cage. Now live with the key you threw away." She never replied. The judge's donation made headlines. The jury foreman's press conference went viral. The witness's recantation led to a small civil settlement for Mike, another $200,000. He donated most to the Innocence Project. But the real target now was personal. Lily. Sarah agreed to a supervised visit, a park in the suburbs, neutral ground. Mike arrived early, clean shirt, shaved, hands shaking. Lily was 11 now, tall, dark hair like her mother's, eyes wide and curious. She held Sarah's hand tightly. Sarah nodded. "She's nervous, but she wants to see you." Mike knelt to Lily's level. "Hey, kiddo." Lily stared. Then, "You're really my dad?" Mike's throat tightened. "Yeah, I never stopped being your dad." They talked for an hour. Simple things. School, soccer, favourite shows. Lily asked why he was gone. Mike said, "Some bad people lied. But I'm back now." She hugged him before leaving, small arms around his neck. Mike closed his eyes, breathed her in. Sarah whispered. We'll go slow, but she needs you. Mike nodded. Thank you. He drove away with hope flickering for the first time in years. But the system wasn't done with him. One evening, 2 detectives knocked on his new apartment door. Official visit. Mr. Donovan, we need to talk about Victor Hargrove. Mike let them in. They sat stiffly. Victor claims you threatened him, coerced the confession. Blackmail. Mike raised an eyebrow. He confessed on his own, to the police. One detective slid a file across. He says you confronted him, recorded him, pressured him. Mike looked at the file. Grainy photo. Him outside the Hargrove house that night. He smiled thinly. I visited the house where I was framed. Nostalgic. No threats. The detectives pressed. No hard evidence, but warning. Stay clean. We're watching. They left. Mike locked the door, exhaled. He knew the risk. Prison again was possible. Entrapment, coercion charges. He decided to finish quietly. One last move. Victor's mistress. She knew things. Late-night calls, arguments about money. Mike met her in a coffee shop. Showed her the confession transcript. He's gone, Mike said. You don't have to protect him anymore. She cried. Gave him a USB with texts and voicemails, more proof of Victor's guilt. Mike sent it anonymously to the DA's office. Case closed tighter. Then he stopped. No more letters, no more shadows. He got a job, electrician again, small contractor. Fixed lights, wired houses. Normal. He saw Lily every weekend. Soccer games, ice cream, bedtime stories when Sarah allowed overnights. Sarah and Mike talked. Awkward, healing. No romance, just co-parenting. One night, Mike sat on his couch, photo of Lily on the table. He picked up the phone. Called Dana. I'm done, he said. Dana laughed softly. About time. Mike hung up, looked out the window at the Pittsburgh lights. The cage was gone, but the scars remained. He would live with them, and maybe, just maybe, help others break free. Mike Donovan stood outside the prison gates one last time, not as an inmate, but as a visitor. Victor Hargrove had requested the meeting, through his lawyer. He wants to talk, says he owes you. Mike almost refused, but curiosity, and perhaps a need for closure, won. The visiting room was the same sterile box Mike knew too well. Victor sat on the other side of the glass, orange jumpsuit hanging loose on his once arrogant frame. He looked smaller, older, defeated. Mike sat. No greeting. Victor spoke first. I'm sorry. Mike stared. I destroyed your life, Victor continued. For money, for pride. I thought I'd get away with it. I didn't. Mike's voice was flat. You didn't think about the kid who lost his dad? The wife who lost her husband? The man who lost 5 years? Victor nodded, tears in his eyes. I know. I see it every night in here. The same nightmare. You, the jury, my aunt's face. Mike leaned forward. Why now? Because you could have killed me that night. You didn't. You made me confess. You gave me something like mercy. Mike exhaled slowly. I didn't do it for you. I did it for me, for Lily, for the next guy the system chews up. Victor swallowed. If there's anything I can do, from in here. Mike stood. Live with it. Every day. That's enough. He walked out without looking back. Outside, the winter air bit cold. Mike drove to the park where he met Lily every Saturday. She ran to him now, full sprint, arms wide. Dad! He caught her, spun her once. She laughed. Sarah watched from the bench, smiling softly. Progress. They sat together, Mike, Lily, Sarah. Talked about school projects, holiday plans. Nothing heavy. Lily looked up at Mike. You're not going away again, right? Mike hugged her close. Never, kiddo. I'm here. Later, alone in his apartment, Mike opened a drawer. Inside, the old prison letters he'd never sent. The photo of his family from before. Victor's confession transcript. He took the transcript, walked to the small fireplace he'd installed, lit a match. The paper curled and burned. Ashes fell. He watched until nothing remained. The next morning, he got a call from Dana. New innocence case, wrongful conviction. Kid's 22, been inside 3 years. Mike paused. Dana. They need help, evidence gathering, someone who knows how it feels. Mike looked at the photo of Lily on his fridge, smiling, happy. He smiled back, small, real. I'm in, he said. Mike Donovan closed the chapter on revenge. He opened a new one. Justice. Not with shadows, with light. And for the first time in years, he slept through the night.